just start fighting. Follow my lead. I found a boy, beautiful and sweet. I never knew you were someone waiting for me. We were just kids and we fell in love, not knowing what it was. I will not give you up this time, darling. Just kiss me so your heart is.
Feeling stressed or isolated? Staying home is the best way to protect yourself from the virus. But it isn't easy. Many people will be anxious, nervous, or even depressed. Cabin fever and feelings of isolation are real. Here are some tips to help you both mentally and emotionally. Try to limit your news to a few trusted sources, such as the Center for Disease Control or your local health agency. Rumors and speculation are not helpful. Some of the advice can even be harmful. Immersing yourself in unverifiable information can get your mind spinning in all the wrong ways. Before you start obsessively reading news articles, ask yourself, is this going to be helpful? Is constantly refreshing your browser to see the same statistics benefiting you in any way? As fast as news is changing, most of the crucial information still occurs in 24-hour cycles. Take a break from the news when you can, and as often as you can. Number 2. Have you been tired and less productive? Your fight or flight reflex is still there, but there's nothing to run from and nothing to fight, so your mind is working hard for no particular reason. Feeling tired because of this is perfectly normal. Experts often tell people to exercise. It releases chemicals like endorphins and serotonin that can improve your mood and can make you feel better. If possible, try to maintain an exercise routine, or come up with some home-based workout plan. Even 5 minutes of stretching will provide you with mental health benefits. If you can still maintain safe social distancing, go outside and run, bike, walk, or just try and get your heart rate up. Number 3. It sounds obvious, but be sure to do things besides check your social media and chores. Try and occupy your time with something that feels good to you. Start a new hobby or learn some new skills. Even giving yourself permission to binge TV or play games can help. Don't feel guilty for doing something for yourself. Number 4. Have the days started to blend together for you? Make sure you get plenty of sunlight. If you can't go outside, try to hang out near a bright window. Sunlight is a part of your circadian rhythm, and that's a very important part of your sleep schedule. Rest is essential for your mental health right now, and it's more important than a lot of people realize. Number 5. Stay socially connected. Find creative ways to stay in touch with friends online, be that through social media, video chats, communities that have similar interests. Remember, isolation can lead to depression, even in people who usually don't show symptoms. Feeling overwhelmed is normal, and you're not alone. If you or somebody you know is in crisis, dial 911 or call the appropriate crisis hotline listed above. For peer-to-peer and teen-only group chat or text support, you can try the following services. Be kind to yourself, and take some time for self-care.
Hi, my name is Maggie Lewis, and I'm the pastor of Chinook and Havre Presbyterian Churches, and I'm also a member of the local advisory council for mental health for Blaine County. Throughout the month of May, we will be bringing you different content each week for Celebrate Mental Health a Month. And so this week, we're going to start by talking about grief. And I know that grief is something that we usually all want to avoid. We don't want to feel the pain of going to that dark place and feeling our grief. But what I want to talk about today is that grief is actually a process of healing. And especially during this season of COVID-19, there are so many different types of grief that we are feeling. And so I want to really acknowledge today that this is grief work that we are going through right now. And so some are grieving the death of loved ones, either from death related to COVID-19 or other causes, and also grief over not being able to be with loved ones. Also, a lot of us are experiencing grief over the loss of a job or income or fear of the economic toll. Or there's a change in the responsibilities that you are experiencing at work or at home, and that is grief. Also, there's a loss of a future that we have imagined or can plan for. Many things are being canceled, and the future is so uncertain right now. There's also the loss of physically gathered milestones, graduations, weddings, birthdays, holidays, vacations. There's a loss of normalcy and routine. We have been all thrown out of our normal routines right now. There's also a loss of physical connection and touch, a loss of safety, not feeling like you are safe or knowing if you are going to get sick. There's a loss of identity. Many of us are facing new realities of who we are and what we do. That's a loss. A loss of personal time and space, especially for those working from home and having kids. You probably don't have much time or space to yourself. And then there's a loss of being able to see loved ones, especially those that are sick and in care facilities. So we have so much loss that we are dealing with right now during COVID-19. And so I want to talk about the 5 stages of grief. And I want to start out by saying these are not in order. We probably all experience these at different times, and some of these we feel all in one day. And so we start by talking about shock and denial. And especially with COVID-19, that comes across through the thoughts of this virus won't affect me. And so there's an initial paralysis to hearing the bad news in the changing world, and we want to avoid what is inevitable. And actually, this is our body and our mind's way of helping us survive this loss. And often in shock and denial, our world becomes meaningless and overwhelming. And we wonder how we can move on, if we can move on, or why we should move on. We feel stuck and out of control. But it's also nature's way of letting in only as much as we can handle, so we don't become too overwhelmed. And I think that is where we find grace. And as we proceed, all of the feelings that we are denying begin to surface. And so that's when we start seeing anger. Right now during COVID-19, this anger might be coming across as you're making me stay home and taking away all of my activities. And anger is our frustrated outpouring of all of our bottled up emotions. All of those things that we are trying to deny come out in our frustrated anger. But actually, anger is one of the most necessary steps in our healing process. And so we have to be willing to feel it, even though it might feel endless. Like once you start feeling that anger, it's never going to stop. But underneath the anger is all of our pain. And so actually, I want you to hear this. Anger is a strength, and it can be an anchor for us, giving us a temporary sense of structure to the nothingness of our loss. And so then we began to bargain. We are seeking for a way out. And so during this COVID-19 pandemic, we start thinking, okay, if I social distance for 2 weeks, everything will be better, right? Because we would do anything to be spared from this pain. And so this bargaining might take the form of a temporary truce. If I'm willing to do this, then this will be the outcome. Because we want life to return to what it was. We want to go back in time. We want life to be normal again. And so we begin to get in this space of if onlys. We think about what we could have done differently. And we begin to question and doubt. And we may even bargain with our pain itself, trying to numb it and make it go away. And then this manifests in a sense of depression, finally realizing the inevitable. And in our depression, we get stuck in this place of, I don't know when this will end. And our attention begins to move to the present. And our empty feelings begin to present themselves. And our grief enters our lives on a deeper level, deeper than we ever could have imagined. We feel like it will last forever. And I want to say here, this depression that we feel is a natural reaction and an appropriate response to the great losses, as I mentioned earlier, that we are all feeling right now. And so this feeling of depression is not a sign of mental illness, but it's an appropriate reaction to what the world is going through right now, because this is hard. And if we were reacting any differently, it would be more concerning. But I think it's okay to be in that space of this is hard, because what we are doing right now is hard. And so it's not just something that we can fix or snap out of, but we have to give ourselves permission to be in this space, to let us feel our feelings and to grieve the losses that we have experienced. And so don't feel like you have to fix yourself because you're feeling sad. Actually, what you're feeling is very appropriate to what the world is going through right now. And lastly, we begin to move into acceptance. This is happening, and I have to figure out how to proceed. I have to find a way forward. And again, I want to say this is not just being all right or okay with what happened, but it's finding our new reality and incorporating all we've been through into who we are and what the world is like now. Because we cannot maintain the past intact. It is forever changed, and we are changed, and we must readjust to this new reality that is before us. And so in this space of acceptance, we begin to listen to our needs. We move and we change and we grow and we evolve. We invest in our friendships and in our relationship with ourselves. And we find control in the acceptance. I can wash my hands, I can keep a safe distance, I can learn how to work virtually. So that sense of paralysis of not knowing a way forward becomes to be okay. I'm still not okay, but I can move forward, and this is how I can do it. And so in our permission to feel our grief, we begin to live with it. And so I want to suggest a few ways that we can live with our grief right now. So the first is to find a balance in the things that you are thinking. If you're imagining the worst image taking shape, also balance it with make yourself think of the best image. So as you're thinking about the worst that could happen, also challenge yourself to think about the best that could happen. Second, come into the present moment. Practice mindfulness. It's a way of just reorienting yourself. So find 5 things that you can see and touch and feel in the moment and name those. So I can feel the ground under my feet. I can see the light coming through the window. I can hear the birds chirping. I can smell the aroma of the food that I am making. Ground yourself, center yourselves. Practice mindfulness by coming into the present moment. Third, let go of what you can't control. What your neighbor is doing is out of your control, but what is in your control is staying 6 feet away from them, washing your hands. And so focus on that, the things that we can control. Fourth, stock up on compassion. Be patient with yourself and with others. Think about who someone usually is and not who they seem to be in this moment. We are all reacting to stress in different ways, and none of us are our best selves right now. And so be patient, have compassion on others and on yourself. And lastly, friends, this is survivable. We will survive. And so this is a time to overprotect our neighbors, but not to overreact to the situation before us. And so I hope, if anything, you'll hear this permission to experience all that we are going through right now and acknowledge your grief and do that hard work of moving through it, because actually I think you'll find healing in it. And so, like I said earlier, throughout this month of Celebrate Mental Health, you'll find other resources posted by the Blaine County Health Department each week. So go over and like their Facebook page and share this content with your friends that need to hear it today.
Napag-isip-isip mo ba ang buhay mo? Bakit ka inilagay sa mundong ito? Kung saan ka nang galing, kung saan ang patutunguhan, may dahilan kahit hindi mo ito alam. Ano kaya ang iyong gagawin? Pagpapatuloy mo ba ang iyong mga gawain? Kung magbabago ka ay simulan mo na ngayon. Tutulungan ka ng Panginoon. Lumapit sa Kanya, ibigay buong sarili, puso't kaluluwa. Huwag nang maghintay pa, ngayon mo ito gawin. Sapagkat di mo batid kung anong dala ng bukas para sa'yo. Kaya't ihandog mo na ngayon sa Kanyang buhay mo. Buhay natin ay pansamantala. Isang saglit ika'y buhay, tapos wala ka na. Kaya't ngayon ang panahon, harapin ang katotohanan. Diyos lamang ang may buhay na walang hanggan. Lumapit sa Kanya, ibigay buong sarili, puso't kaluluwa. Huwag nang maghintay pa, ngayon mo ito gawin. Sapagkat di mo batid kung anong dala ng bukas para sa'yo. Kaya't ihandog mo na ngayon sa Kanyang buhay mo. Huwag nang magduda pa, ngayon gawin mo na. Lumapit sa Kanya, ibigay buong sarili, puso't kaluluwa. Huwag nang maghintay